Going further, these are the structures of some common thermoplastic matrix materials of thermoplastic composites. The first one is polyphenylene sulfide, or it is called PPS. The next one is called polysulfone, which is PS, and the other one is it says here polyethylene uh, ketone, but it is actually called polyaryl ether ketone or PEEK. These are three of the most common high temperature polymer composite matrix materials. They are also used as um, thermoplastics by themselves. And among these, you should know that PEEK is one of the most biocompatible materials, and it has a strength that is retained up to almost 400 degrees centigrade or about 750 degrees Fahrenheit. So this is a great material, especially with some of the new high temperature applications that we are talking about. One of the processing methods for composites is based on microwave processing. And the reason for microwave processing is to reduce the processing time and uh, the speed of making components. So, how can you make microwave processing? If it is non-conductive, you cannot do it by microwave processing. So in order to do that, it has to have magnetic and dielectric constituents in this material. So which means that it will have both electrical permittivity and magnetic permeability greater than unity. So that's what is going to assist in microwave processing of these materials. So in order to do that, you have to have metallic inclusions, and these are typically high aspect ratio fillers, or you could have ferromagnetic inclusions such as rods and platelets added to polystyrene type of materials. So this again, slightly switching gears a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about the difference between thermoplastics and thermosets. Thermoplastics and thermosets, the most basic difference is in the reusability of these materials. So suppose you have a thermoset material, you cannot recycle that material, because once you have cured and set the reaction in place, set the material in place, it cannot be reheated, melted, and reused again. Whereas in the case of thermo plastic type of materials, you can melt it and reuse it again. And the reason for the thermosets not being able to be reused again is because you have already cross-linked the reaction, cross-linked the ingredients and the constituents, and they are set in place. And once you reheat it and melt it, it is not going to go back to its monomers. There may be ways to do that, but most of the time it is too much of a trouble, and you are going to have to use extremely corrosive and harsh type of chemicals in order to make that happen. So again, it's not going to be a very useful thing. But what this schematic shows is you have the lowest viscosity after a certain time at a certain temperature. So once you reach that temperature, you can process it, and you have a little bit of time in order to make this reaction and make this fabrication possible. So you complete that, and then once you are done with it, then it sets in place and hardens. In many thermoset materials, you have different ingredients, and you have both aromatic and aliphatic chains in this material. You may not, I mean, you may not exactly understand the chemistry behind the process, but what you need to understand is that aliphatic materials, aliphatic chains are usually weaker than aromatic chains. And so, aliphatic materials, aliphatic composite materials usually have a lower processing temperature, a lower temperature capability, whereas aromatic components, aromatic ingredients have higher um, usable temperatures, and it needs also higher processing temperatures. Aromatics also have a very strong odor, and but that does not mean that all polymers with a strong odor are aromatic in nature, but the aromatic group itself imparts special properties. More aromatic groups means higher stiffness and higher strength, especially because of the directionality of the bonds. And you don't have to have completely aromatic groups. You can add some portion of the backbone of the starting monomer as an aromatic chain, and these can be attached in different ways. So the different aromatic groups are, you have benzene, you have polystyrene, um, and you can also have epoxy and phenolic type of material. So you have different chains. So from this you can see that the the longer the chain, the bigger the chain, the stronger the material is going to be. So there are different ways of bonding in aromatic polymers. It can be a pendant type of bonding, or it can be a backbone type of bonding, or you can have network type of bonding. And among these, the network ones are stronger than the pendant type of materials for mechanical properties. And if there are no aromatic groups, that means the polymer is aliphatic. Now, you could have some amount of aromatic chains added to an aliphatic chain, but those are going to be pretty hard, but it can be done. So this one is a listing of all the matrix dominated properties. It gives you the traditional mechanical properties, different properties, as well as what is the coefficient of thermal expansion and things like that. So here on the left hand side, which are the lowest properties, they are the polyesters, then you have epoxies, then you have polyimides, then polyimides, and there could be some polyamides also. Then you have phenolics, then you have thermoplastics, and then the higher temperature capabilities are from ceramics and metals. And but that does not mean that metals are always used, but it could be, there are some metals that could give you some properties that you require. So why do we choose the matrix? I mean, what is the need for choosing a specific matrix? These are based on matrix dominated properties. So those are, first of all, environmental properties, then you have chemical resistance, then you have, and you have, finally you have toughness. I'm sorry, this one you cannot really see it. I hope you can see that by looking at the slides and expanding the or increasing the magnification of these slides. So the type of matrix is going to be based on, again, what is the final property that you want. You could have, you may need the specific thing such as resistance to moisture and solvents. So the resistance to moisture and solvents is based on the chemical nature of the matrix, and it is affected by the chemical polarity of the chains. And for example, if you have oxygen and nitrogen atoms in the backbone, then this structure will be polar in nature. Water is a famous example of a polar molecule, but there could be others that are have similar properties, and which means that if you have oxygen and nitrogen, it can then react with a polar solvent molecule. So which means that some of these atoms or some of these linkages can react with even moisture. And strong attraction means effect will be very quick to manifest, and this will affect the choice of the resin for chemical resistance and corrosion resistance. So which means that if you want really good corrosion resistance, you have to use premium resins. So which means that if you are using a low cost resin such as polyester, it may not have good corrosion resistance, it may not have good temperature resistance, and so on. So if you want really good resistance, you need to use the really more expensive and premium resins. So you can also create different kinds of chains based on what are called copolymers. So the copolymers means you are taking two different types of atoms and bunching them up together and creating a new molecule. And that molecule can have a random type of structure, which means one atom will be of one nature, another atom will be of another nature. So the two colors will be different, or it could have block copolymers, so which means that the whole chain is of one type, and then you have another type of atoms as another chain. Or you can even graft these different chains onto the backbones of these materials. So depending upon the properties that you require, you can use these types of copolymers, and these copolymers have got specific properties, and those will depend upon the final property that you require in the composite material. If you look at polymers themselves, if you look at their properties, you have to look at what are called the mechanical properties, and there could be two different types of stress strain behavior that you might find in polymers. One is the standard linear elastic behavior, and the other one is non-linear elastic behavior. Not every one of them will have linear elastic behavior, some of them might also be non-linear elastic behavior, and this will also depend upon the um, type of molecule that you are using. Now, if you want to look at, the reason why you choose a specific type of matrix is also because of the fracture energy that you require, that you want in the composite material or in the matrix material. So you can see that aluminum has one of the highest fracture energy that it can absorb before fracture failure. Um, if you look at inorganic glasses, that is pretty small, but if you look at epoxies, polyesters, and polyimide resins, they are slightly better than glasses. But if you have polysulfones, elastomers, etc., they have pretty good compared to the epoxies. Now, please take a note of this. Polysulfone is a thermoplastic. Elastomer is based on rubber. So if you want good fracture resistance, good fracture toughness, you may want to add some of these elements to the composite material so that you enhance the fracture toughness or fracture energy of the overall composite material. Let me stop here and I will continue on the next set of slides after this.